Hey there folks, this is Misadventurer here with a quick campaign update video on the Rome campaign. This is going to be about some code changes that I've made to the Imperator Rome underlying code, which, although it doesn't have any sort of retroactive effect on actions I've taken earlier in the campaign, will have an effect on the cost of two particular actions in the campaign going forward. So starting in episode 11 and onwards, these two particular actions, which I'll show you in just a minute, will have this new cost based on the changes I've made, and I'll explain in this video my reasoning for these changes and my thinking behind them. And I wanted to make a video like this separate from just the opening of episode 11, so in episode 11 I can start by mentioning, hey, I've made these changes, go check out this video linked in the description, which will be to this video, to sort of see my context for that. So the changes I've made have to do with two frustrating kinds of expenditures that I don't really like the balancing of, and absent the modding knowledge needed to make deeper hard code level changes, these are basically some ways to make the campaign a lot smoother pacing wise, while not necessarily completely removing these as mechanics from the game. Now I'll just quickly show you what I'm talking about. The first change I've made has to do with city revocation, which is the constant and main way that I've been gaining tyranny. And what I've done is I've changed the revoke city cost from 5 tyranny to 2.5 tyranny, so a 50% reduction. Now my justification for this number is that tribes have a 2.50 tyranny cost as opposed to a 5 tyranny cost. Monarchies and republics sort of don't get that discount that the tribes do. So 2.50 is considered a balanced cost in the game for tribes. And honestly, because I wanted to have a lower cost, but I do believe there being a cost is still important for this mechanic, I think 2.50 is a fair discount to give myself. And of course, this is a system level change, so the AI can also revoke cities at this lower cost. So it's only really a discount for me because I'm purposely revoking cities all the time based on my strategy to provincial min-maxing. Now, because I'm doing this midway into the series, all the tyranny that I've accrued over the course of the series from revocation doesn't magically get refunded, right? This cost change, sorry, I spent the last couple hours looking at Imperator Rome code. This change doesn't have any sort of advantage for me in terms of the costs that I've spent already. This is just going forward. This discount applies onward from now. So episode 11 and onwards, this is the new cost, and I think in future campaigns, I'll continue using this new discount, assuming I don't end up changing my mind about it completely, which I don't think I will. So just a heads up, this is the new cost of city revocation. I don't remember if I also changed Metropolis revocation, which normally costs more. It's possible I did. It's possible I didn't, though. And I don't normally see Metropolises that often, so I guess we'll see when we encounter a Metropolis that we want to revoke. I don't know what circumstance that would be, but cities are by far the main thing I've been revoking of the two in the game that you can revoke, cities and Metropolises. So cities going forward in the Rome campaign, episode 11 onward, will be 2.50 tyranny to revoke. So I'm still needing to keep track of not overloading on tyranny, but I think this is a bit more reasonable on the tyranny gain situation. And really, at the end of the day, the pacing of the campaign has been so slowed down by my fear of tyranny and my desire to not expand into territories with cities that I'd want to revoke. And for me, not revoking a city that is in a place I don't want there to be a city is such a difficult and uncomfortable thing. And I know that this is maybe just a part of the grand strategy that I have to overcome my weird kind of uncomfort with, but ultimately, I think that this change is still in line with the idea of revoking cities having a cost while not having the cost of 5 tyranny, which is, in my opinion, too much for the kind of pace I want to set with the campaign. So this change will ultimately, I think, lead to a more fast-paced and a more aggressive campaign, which I'm sure no one is too upset to see. So just a note about that. So revoke city status going forward will cost 2.50 for myself, and I believe the AI as well, under any kind of government form, in this case Republic for right now. Now the other thing that I've changed is the provincial capital cost, to move the provincial capital around. What I've changed it to is from 30 loyalty with a discount to 20 if you're targeting a city, I've changed it to 5. So this is a much larger change. And my justification for this is that provincial loyalty isn't as sort of comprehensive a resource as tyranny, and it isn't on the national level the way tyranny is. Provincial loyalty is just within that one province. And 30 loyalty for the capital of the province to be moved around never felt sensible to me. It always felt a little overkill, and it led to me, and as you've seen in this campaign, basically cowering in fear at the idea of the provincial capital being moved around whenever I conquer territory. Some of my biggest sort of blow-ups in my videos that I've had were about the capital moving around and the loyalty costs that would be involved in fixing that, because the capital's where slaves are sent, the capital's where a lot of population moves to. So where in the province the capital is, on top of just the strategic thing of where the capital is it fortified or what, for wars happening soon, it's a big deal. And managing provinces is a big part of this game. And so the glitchiness of how the capital moves around, the extreme cost of moving it back, it's always been extremely frustrating to me. And ultimately, I sort of don't have as coherent as an argument for why 5 loyalty is what I've picked over 30. I just want there to be minimal cost for this. And having it be 5 loyalty does still lead to situations where if you constantly, within the span of a few minutes, think and decide and change your mind about, I'm going to put the capital here, no here, no here, you can actually chew through loyalty really quick. But if you do some thinking and plan ahead and say, okay, this is where I want it to go, 5 loyalty means you're basically not punished for being completely floozy and flippant about where the capital should be within the province. Now, I didn't touch how the national capital relocation works. This doesn't cost loyalty, it costs PI. So I haven't touched that at all. All I've touched is the relocate provincial capital button. So going forward in the Rome campaign, starting episode 11 onwards, like with the tyranny thing for Revoking City, relocating capital will cost 5 loyalty, not 30/20 loyalty based on whether it's a city or not. So again, this one I don't have as strong of an argument for why this is balanced to do. I just don't like this mechanic costing so much loyalty. And again, without the deeper modding knowledge needed to change what it costs or give it a new kind of cost, the best I can do is nerf the effect of the overpriced loyalty cost that is in the game. And hopefully with this explanation in this context, folks will understand why I've made these changes. I know that changing the code in the middle of a campaign may be seen as cheating or giving myself an unfair advantage or any number of things that could be perhaps frowned upon. And I totally accept that for many people, this is a kind of action they wouldn't agree with. So I totally get it. If you don't like this and maybe you decide to stop watching the Rome campaign because I've made these changes, I understand. So all I can say is I hope that I've sort of explained my reasoning for these changes and how, at the end of the day, these are changes mostly about making this a better series pacing-wise for all of you, right? I enjoy playing this game at a slow pace, and I could play with these extreme costs, and if I wasn't, playing on camera, if I wasn't playing for a campaign that I'm recording, I wouldn't mind as much the wait. But for a recorded series that has a large audience in the hundreds, I want the pacing of this campaign to move along at a reasonable pace. And I think that these changes are both conducive to being able to play at a faster pace and do the really cool stuff people want to see more often. And at the end of the day, there's other parts of this game that are well-designed ways to slow down player progression, which I don't really care to touch because I think these are balanced and important parts of this game. I just don't think that the loyalty costs of the capital relocation or the tyranny costs of cities are sacrosanct parts of this game's balance that are above being changed or shouldn't be touched. And ultimately, as I've said before, I'm in the very early stages right now of working on my own overhaul mod, which will attempt, and again, I need to become better at modding to get to this point, will attempt to make some pretty fundamental changes to how many of these sort of esoteric national resources like tyranny, stability, and so on, and PI kind of work in relation to your tiles and whatnot. So for now, before I get to those places, before I start to really come up with those ideas, all I can do is sort of weaken the impact of these two particular mechanics on this campaign and my campaigns going forward. And hopefully all of you sort of understand where I'm coming from and see that I'm trying to do something that will help the campaign here and not just doing it because I'm annoyed about having to spend tyranny on city revocation. I think I should spend tyranny on it, but the amount of tyranny that I've been spending is causing pacing problems with the campaign, and that's ultimately what I'm trying to sort of reverse or trying to avoid the effect of going forward. So sorry if this video was a little sort of messy. I'm very tired. I've just spent so much time. I literally was on multiple Imperator Rome modding Discord servers asking people and talking to modders that worked on these overhaul mods, like, hey, does anyone know how to do these code changes? Because I couldn't figure it out. I looked at the code for a long time. I finally resorted to downloading an old Imperator Rome mod off the workshop that actually mentioned in the description that it changed the capital movement cost modifier, which is a piece of code I couldn't find anywhere in the Imperator Rome files. So I downloaded that file, opened it, looked at the sort of code in the mod to then discover what the code was called in the Imperator Rome core files, went back over to Imperator Rome, found the code, and was able to change it after going through 2 more layers of files and code referencing other code. This game's code is something else, but putting that aside, that's my video covering this campaign update. Hopefully you all understand why I've made these changes, and let me know in the comments what you think. I'm very open to feedback on this. If there's overwhelming negativity about these changes, I'm always in a position to undo them and go back to how it was by default, but hopefully I've sort of presented my explanation for why I've made these changes, but let me know in the comments what you think. I'm always happy to get feedback. So with that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon for episode 11 of the Rome campaign.